and welcome to Real Talk with Leigh Brown. Today I'm bringing y'all a new friend. His name is Travis Perry, also known as Trav. You're going to hear about what he's doing to make everybody better around him, plus some real estate stories. I mean, it's a really great conversation. I think you're probably going to fall just completely in love with what he's doing, as I did, and you're going to be ready to pray for him and his wife, Lakeisha, as they find next steps. So grab your notebook, enjoy the conversation, and I'll see you on the other side. Hello, friends. I'm so excited to have you back on Real Talk with Leigh Brown, and I'm going to introduce you to one of my brand new friends, as in we just met this week. And as I told him, I heard him talk for less than a minute in the middle of a listening session for the Economic Development Program for North Carolina. And I knew he had to be on the show to tell all of y'all what he's doing and help get the word out. So, Travis Perry, welcome to Real Talk with Leigh Brown, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
All right, so tell my audience a little bit about what you're doing and where you're located, and give them just a little snapshot, and then I'll start asking you some questions, and we'll just have us a good conversation here.
Yes, my name is Trav Perry, Travis, but I go by Trav. I got a teaching and philosophy called hero training. It's attitude, morale, discipline that we wake up every day to follow in a structural way to just get the best out of life and ourselves and be able to give ourselves to those that depend on us. I'm a husband. I'm a father. A man as real as his reason. There's no more reason that I wake up other than serving what I got to give the world and my wife and my children, and just making every decision my best decision to always be in line and to be in position to be the best and give the best. So that's what hero training is in a nutshell. And it's not about right or wrong. It's not about comparing. It's about waking up every day to just give your best and understanding the discipline of how it worked to truly work it.
I mean, obviously you were raised by people who instilled in you a sense of work ethic and discipline. Do you see that that's the gap? Because I don't think it's an achievement and a brains gap in the world right now as much as it is a discipline and drive gap. And it's part of why I was so excited to hear what you're doing. So where did you come from? Are you from Cabarrus County or Mecklenburg County? Are you from this part of the state? Or tell us how
Yeah.
you grew up.
Yes, I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I was raised in a neighborhood in Charlotte called Hidden Valley. It was a prestigious community growing up. Two-parent home community. I had a lot of pride. A Black community. I grew up in Hidden Valley Elementary. I was a leader. I was a student council president. So I always understood just the pride that I grew up around with elders, my grandparents, just a sense of pride. And I don't think that translates to any type of material value on site. It's just something that's innately put into you, just to love and be a part of something and have pride. So I moved to the west side of Charlotte, went to South Mecklenburg High School, played football at South Mecklenburg High School, gave my all, didn't go to college, got out, went into the manufacturing industry with the same pride that was instilled in me. I became a supervisor at an early age and just been thriving in leadership and trying to be that example where there is none or add to where there is abundance of.
Oh, now that's a point we don't hear very much because there is a lot of us have concern over the number of broken families out there. And it's not just in the Black community, it's in every community right now. People will walk away from marriage and from kids probably far too easily because our society's made it acceptable. And that's the hardest thing for kids to overcome. But you also mentioned that in addition to the kids that don't have a role model around, you're adding to what they do have. And I love that observation because even a two-parent household, man, our kids are exposed to so much out there and the noise is so loud from social media, from school, from television, from everything that they see and hear. To support parents, I think is a very important conversation to have because the kids have got to have other influences. I don't know
Yeah.
if you remember, because I think we're probably in the same age range, but if you cut up in school when we were young, the word would get home before you did, and you'd be in as much trouble at home from your parents hearing about it from somebody else in their circle. So you'd be in trouble 5 times before it ever got to your parents. And so we didn't cut up. And that's that adding in that you mentioned. Are you seeing that the kids are open to you as an influence and your organization as an extra adult?
Well, it's about empathy. Um, we all come from different places, and sometimes we're going to the same place. I got a concept that I call hero mathematics, and I'll use an example. Take the seven, the number seven. We can come from diverse places, meaning one may come from a five and a two. That's how they get to the seven. Someone else may come from the six and the one, and someone else may come from the four and the three. But each dynamic brings different circumstances, different perspectives. But if we could all agree that the seven is the place to be for peace, harmony, and unity, then we got to have empathy for each other about where someone is coming from. Not so much to agree or disagree, but understand, because what we deal with in America now is there's a cultivation type of thing. I'm cultivated culturally just as much as you're cultivated culturally. And there may be some differences. Well, there are differences in that cultivation, but there is a founding truth. There is a baseline truth. And the truth is right, wrong, good, bad, ugly, happy, sad. There's a spectrum. So when we wake up with the right intentions, and that is peace, that is love, that is raising our families, sometimes under different conditions. Those conditions can be different with your neighbor. You know, their circumstance of surviving may be different than mine. So my children may be experiencing things different from their neighbors, but we have to have one common goal. That's to raise them with structure, integrity, respect, love, and dignity. And so when we look away to now and realize that that don't really exist no more in abundance or in the general. And it ain't about downing nobody to say who's wrong, who's right, or why. It's about understanding the slip and not the fall. So what took away those principles, regardless of where you was coming from? A white household, a black household, in Jim Crow, in the 80s, in the 90s, there still had to be a respect for parents, children. And
Yes.
a family is a man, a woman, and their children. So when we understand where the slip came from in general, to realize we all going through the same thing. We all working to survive and to maintain, and our children all need the same thing. That's love, care, attention, structure, and there's an order to that. And when you don't have order, you have malfunction. And we all know that beyond any separation, there's a general malfunction that we don't have compassion and empathy for one another.
Okay, so I don't believe you're in manufacturing because you're about to go to preaching there. But when you said that your mathematical equation is all about the number seven, you know that's the biblical number of completion.
Come on.
So when you talk about the biblical number of completion, it's all about the things that you just mentioned. And structure is not bad. And I think that's what we have to get back to teaching our kids. Is I was telling a lady the other day, she was saying, I don't want to correct somebody else's kid because I don't want to step over the line. And I said, yes, but you drive down the highway and there's lines on the highway, and the lines are guides. And if you don't have a guide, you're going to be all over the place. And a guide's not bad. It's not like you're going to go whip somebody else's child or be ugly to them. But if they're out of line, is to say, I expect you to do better. And understanding that that's not a bad thing. Whew, you were getting me going here. Okay, so anyway, what you mentioned in the economic development session, and of course, when we're looking at the future of North Carolina, we do have jobs that are coming here, and we have a workforce here, and there's always a conversation about housing. And my real estate ears go off whenever somebody's talking about housing. And you were talking about what you've done in your program to encourage this next generation to go after real estate as an ownership future, whether they get there today or tomorrow or whenever, but just to help them look for that as part of their pathway. So can you talk about that a little bit and how you get that conversation started with young people who may not understand that they do have that potential?
Yes, and I wouldn't even say it's from a program perspective. I would just say from a life perspective. I bought my first home when I was 21 years old.
Let's go.
Yes, at that time, a lot of people were proud of me. I had a lot of support. A lot of people never understood that it was attainable, especially at a young age. But I try to simplify things for people, even then and even now. I don't want to make it sound like I've done this miraculous thing in a time where it seemed to be impossible. I had a good job. I knew it was time where I wanted to move out. And my daddy told me, he told me something. He said, well, listen, son, I won't tell you when you have to leave. But what I will tell you is prepare yourself because when you leave, don't ever have plans to come back.
I love
So
your dad.
yeah. So working a job when I got out of high school from 18 to 21, I had been there for almost 3 years. And it was like, okay, well, I'm ready to leave the nest. And just talking with people and understanding my position, elder couple, Miss Thelma Watkins, she's a longtime realtor in Charlotte, very influential. I got introduced to her and she took a liking to me, her and her husband, Mr. Leroy. And they told me, they said, well, why don't you buy a house? And I didn't have any idea of my position. And at 21 years old, I had 2 years job security. They say, do you have a bank account? I say, yes, ma'am. They say put 500 in there and leave it in there and let it stay. Don't touch it. A minimum of $500. And I didn't have any credit. They checked my credit. I had enough. And I bought a house for simply $500 down and being in position. So I left and became a homeowner. And I was just so ecstatic that everybody can own a home. So it was like when you find a secret and you want to tell all your friends. At work, I had worked with a lot of elder people who had been through life. They were old enough to be my father. They came through certain eras of life and society, whether it was drugs, whether it was whatever. But I just wanted to share with them to say, you can do something. And they say, what? So everybody was calling with the $500 in a dream. And I was encouraging home ownership, all my friends. I mean, I just felt like I'm telling the secret. So to not make it like, it's about simplifying the process and showing people that the first step is the most powerful step. And most rhetoric that make things seem impossible or unachievable is mostly by people who never took the step.
Oh, you can say that again. I mean, those are the people on the internet typing like this who don't do things and go into the community. And I just got to say, y'all, if you're watching this episode and you are in real estate, you need to take a hard look at your own conversations and ask yourself if you have Miss Thelma's attitude of you can. And here's the 3 questions I'm going to ask you, because what she asked you, if you weren't prepared at that time, she was giving you a roadmap that you could then choose to follow. And I think a lot of people have already talked themselves out of even sharing the roadmap. And that's the most important thing she could ever have done. And I'll guarantee you right now, she made a good living in real estate, but she did not chase the dollars. The dollars found her because she was doing the right thing and bringing the message to somebody who didn't even know that it was possible. And then you got to spread the message, and that's what abundance really looks like. And it's frankly what you're putting into the next generation. If you show them a path, they can go tell their buddies, oh, this is possible over here. Because people do tell each other things, and frankly, we're really prone to tell each other negative things. So what if there is a good, positive message that can get somebody else excited, like you got excited and went and told people? And how much is your life different because you got involved in smart financial decisions earlier And I'm just going to go ahead and say, I've got to give a lot of credit to Miss Thelma for giving you that advice instead of telling you, wait till you're 30, wait till you're later, don't buy, save, save, save. And she told you how much you needed. I, I can't say enough good about her and Mr. Leroy too. I can't say enough good though about the people who pour into others because they can and not because it's going to benefit them.
Yeah, yeah. And just through real estate alone, I mean, she taught me so much about life. She taught me so much about banking. You know, I remember having a conversation where my daddy always got on me about saving money. So, and this was in my second house I bought. I was in a situation where the deal didn't go like I wanted it. So I say, well, don't worry about it. I got money saved. So just me not understanding, I went and got money orders and I paid for certain type of things in the process. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
got held up for underwriting.
Oh,
And it hurt me a lot, but it was a lesson. And she told me something. She say, I don't care how much money you can save. I don't care how much discipline you got. There's rules to the game, and there must be a paper trail, and there's a part of the process. So I had to set my emotions aside and realize that if I want to play this game, and I'm saying this as a black man, who we can get emotionally tied into advantages and disadvantages, she taught me how to put that aside and realize this is how the game works. And if you're going to play it, understand your position and play it hard. So that lesson, I carry with that to this day. I know how to set my emotions aside and look at things objectively and get in the game and play with all my might. And I credit her to that, uh, with just understanding why they picking on me in underwriting. Why? And it wasn't about picking, it was about learning my position and how the game worked.
well, they say he who has the gold makes the rules. And the most important thing all of us can do is figure out the rules. And like you said, put the emotion aside. And maybe that's where the TikTok generation has gotten themselves sideways because they do love making a video that goes wildly viral. And typically, those are very emotional responses to things because you don't usually see a video that says, well, if you do X, Y, and Z, you can follow the rules and get something done. They'd rather get people excited and, well, that'll preach too because a lot of churches want to get people emotionally riled up without giving them the straight word of the Bible. And so, oh my god, I'll tie everything back if we're not careful
Yeah,
on there.
yeah.
But there's a powerful rule there, and I think it's easier for you and me because we're of a certain age and we've gotten a little bit of maturity in life. And so, if you're a younger person watching this, please listen to us when we say if you will figure out how to put your emotions over here for just a minute and then have a Miss Thelma who gives you the guidelines and says, take your emotion out, do X, Y, and Z. Then you can get excited later, bring your emotions back in if you need to later. But if you want to make progress, focus. In fact, the things you can write down, if you can make a list out of it, that's probably helpful things. And your emotions are hard to make a list out of.
But that process of getting there is very key. The whole process of being able to look at things objectively and not subjectively. And sometimes that's easier said than done because I just in real estate alone, I have had emotional moments where I needed real guidance to help me understand. And I give an example. Just say in the black community, when we talking home ownership, we have a lot of rhetoric, not so much negative or derogatory, but just say when I was 21, I was always under the rhetoric that if you buy a house, you will always make money. You'll always
Oh,
have more. So I went under that rhetoric and I bought my house at 21 and I stayed there 14 years, right? So at the time, I went through something where I felt like it was time for me to grow. I had a wife, I had children, and I held on to the rhetoric. Well, if you have a house, you always make money. And this was in 2014. So me thinking, well, I understand the process. I know that there's a stepping stone in real estate. If I bought this house early and I make equity and I sell this house and take everything I made and put on the next house, then I'll have a bigger house, a bigger position, and I'll somewhat be paying the same, and it'll look like, but in the structure of the way it works, I'll still be secure because I have invested time and money. So that was my plan.
Mm-hmm.
I remodeled my whole house from the top to the ground. I mean, it was beautiful. And I'm gonna be open. I paid $70,000 in 2001. Beautiful. Pride and joy. I put it on the market at 2000 in 2014, and I'm thinking, well, I've been here 14 years. I checked my balance. I owed right at over 50,000. I said, so you mean tell me all I paid with this? So I had to get a real lesson about how interest and how so many years before you truly get to the principal till you start working it down. So I say, okay, so what's the market? So I put it on the market for 85,000. And I say, okay, well, I'll make this, and this, and then I'll move. And that was the plan. I mean, I did everything right. So came to the appraisal. Guy came to me and he said, man, this is a beautiful house. I say, thank you. You know, my ego, you know, I'm young. I put a lot into it. So the appraisal came back and he appraised it for $53,000. And my heart sank.
It's a knife.
My heart sank and I was hurt. And I'm gonna just be honest, the logical explanation that I received, you don't stay around any value. Stay in an older Black neighborhood, and no matter how beautiful you make your house, it could only be worth its surrounding. And that hurt. So, but I know I got a power with me and around me that works with me. So I knew that my mind was made up, and this wasn't a financial move. This was a stage move. I was a father. I was a husband. I had children. This house was somewhat on a main street, and I knew I didn't want to raise my children there. So I had done detached emotionally through the hurt. I said, I got to go on. So my wife found a home that she liked. When it saw it, I said, I'm going to shoot my shot. I had to pay $500 to close out of my first house. I had to pay $500. I went from possibly profiting $25,000 to paying $500 in closing. And then after I paid in closing, they held up that loan and underwriting. So from the perspective of everybody that once looked at me as smart, I'm homeless in a sense for 2 weeks waiting on my loan to go through underwriting. So in this process, I'm telling my realtor, I say, I know it's going to make sense. I say, I believe in a foundational truth that what you consider negative is necessary. It takes a positive and a negative to make it work. And if you don't understand the negative, or you even tie your emotions into what's negative, then you realizing the power of structure. In just a rational way, go unhook your negative battery cable on your car and see how negative necessary is. So I told my realtor, I say, we in this. So I found my dream home. And the guy, the original owners, it was built in 1953. And I went there with my wife and my children. And he gone, him and Miss Marguerite dead and gone. And he said, I don't care what we got to do to make this deal. I want you in this house.
Oh, yay.
Say, I want you in this house. So I didn't make anything on the house I gave up, but I gained so much. And we did it in a loan in a way that I was able to come in and remodel the whole house under a structured loan that most people don't even know exists today. Because, I mean, like I said, I had a team that really wanted to see me win. So to go through that and benefit in ways that it didn't look financial, but it was a more spiritual benefit, and to have the foundation of something I couldn't even imagine prior years to that, thinking, how can I move? Or just the whole selling process became so intimidating. But when I took that first step, one of the powerful story ever told. So I stand in that hurt, in that misunderstanding, going through that emotionally about certain things about urban areas versus other areas. It was a hurting type of thing, but I had to understand it and I didn't let it hold me back. And I can talk about real estate from a spiritual soul perspective. On any level of real estate, when most people gonna talk about it from a financial perspective, but if you do anything for the right reason, the money is just a part of the process.
And for you, it's always $500. I mean, that's what I hear in both of your house stories is there's a $500 connective tissue there. There's some story about that. Are you still in that house?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, see? So there's,
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
tell me what the $500 is. You know what the $500 is. What do the $500 do?
got you everything.
Yeah. I think that's the contract fee, and it's the contract fee, and I think it's the inspection. I normally think generally that's always what the first $500 is for.
I mean, pretty much. And
Yeah.
but you realize it feels, so $500, depending on where you are, can feel like an insurmountable mountain. And sometimes it can feel like coins you find in the couch cushions, depending on where you are in life, which goes back to your math equation. We're going to the same $500, but you come at it from different viewpoints. And then you have to ask yourself, what's on the other side of that $500? And for you, it was, well, it wasn't even about getting you the house you wanted. It was getting your wife the house she wanted, because we know that's often how real estate operates is when the wife is happy, the husband can pour in just a little bit more to make sure that she and the children get to grow up where they want to grow up. So I want to know, in where your space has grown in the hero training, what do you tell your young people about real estate and about getting their ideas set for the possibility of it in the future?
In manufacturing leadership, I'm inspired when I see someone young start working in somewhat a decent amount of income with the possibility of establishing a foundation. And I know we're in a time now where we hear things like, well, in order to buy a house, you got to at least make $100,000. And we got a lot of derogatory things that make you insecure about your position going around. And I'm not saying it ain't no truth to that, but I also tell them this: you pay rent somewhere, don't you? You live in somewhere, right? I mean, regardless of what they say it costs, you paying it. And just under the fundamental logic of wherever you pay rent, there is an owner. And that owner is making a profit off you. So if you can make it paying rent, then there's a position that you can put yourself in to make it better for yourself, at least $500 in this time. So it's about position. It's about order. It's about getting the credit union, whatever job you have. It's about get another bank account. It's about form you some form of discipline in the idea of what it costs for you to live. Be truthful with yourself. I can't live where the doctors live if I'm not a doctor in that sense. I work in warehouse manufacturing, and this ain't no slight. This ain't about comparison. But a doctor makes such and such and such and such and such, and their material aspect may reflect that. But that don't define you versus them. I work in manufacturing. I make what I make. I live in my comfort of my wife and my children. There is a space. There is a medium. There is a vibration that's for me. And it looked like it looks for me. And that ain't got to be defined by how much it costs. When you know that, that is power. That is structure. I want to tell a story about something else. I always took pride in what I drive. They say you can drive what you want if you wait 5 years to get it.
Say that again for the people in the back.
You can drive what you want if you wait 5 years to get it. If you come out in 2025, boy, you can have that dream car in 2030 if you really want it. But And that's subjective, if that's your thing. But that was my thing. I always wanted to drive something nice, to feel like, whatever. So going through this, never experiencing or really having true security in my automobile. If you wait 5 years, that's about the time that things start messing up on the car and you start to deal with things in the same reason why 5 years later it was on the used lot for you, right? And it's just all other things. So experiencing this, driving Yukons and driving big cars or whatever, and I feel good. I can afford them, whatever. So now that I got a family, my wife broke down in the street in my Yukon. That was so beautiful that every time somebody watched me drive it, they would associate, man, he must be living good. But my family was vulnerable. So I got off work and I went and got them and took my car to the shop, and they say, well, we think something going on with your engine. And I was so hard, bro. Oh man, what I'm gonna do? What I'm gonna do? And this is in conjunction with the house thing. So I had a friend say, "Man, why you stressing, man?" I said, "Man, what I'm gonna do?" He said, "Look, Trav, man, you go to work, you do everything right. You in a good position. Now you got to reaffirm what position you in." So and just that conversation changed my mind. So I said, "Okay." So I went to the car lot, saw my position. And the first thing that I really wanted out of this was security. About hero training, being able to be there for those that depend on you. And ain't no worse feeling than your wife and kids calling you in a situation that you can't be there at the drop of a dime. So I say that's what I want to eliminate. And the only way I can eliminate that was to get a brand new car. So I went to that car lot and I knew what I needed. And I had to deal with a hard reality. I pulled in there with a GMC Yukon Denali that was pretty. But I left out of there with a GMC brand new Terrain. And I had to accept I'm a Terrain type of guy in my natural lane. You see what I'm saying? And I'm just speaking from an ego perspective. That's something that I really had to put a grip on. And it was a mature moment because now as a father, it ain't about what somebody think, what somebody perceive. It's about the security for my wife and my children. And that was my first brand new car. And I remember my children getting dropped off with me. And they say, "Daddy, how we gonna get home?" I said, "We're gonna leave in a brand new car." So just having that confidence, just knowing my position, and like I say, not to make it like I'm better or worse, just knowing that discipline, structure will always lead you somewhere powerful. And that place is only for you and ain't meant to be compared to nothing and nobody else. But when it's for you and it's yours, I've been on more road trips in my children's life. This was in 2020, in the last 5 years in a brand new car than I ever been before. And it taught me something. I'm proud to be a GMC Terrain guy.
Hey, you know what I drive?
What?
GMC Terrain.
Come on now. Come on now. Come on. See how I know that? How I know that? We connected.
Obviously we're meant to be friends, but when you say that, it's striking because I had a Ford Explorer and it got totaled in an accident. And I'm trying to think very carefully about what I need. My kids are grown. I don't need the third row seat. The mileage is better on the Terrain, but it's smaller than what I had. And I had a couple of friends that are like, "You're going to miss your big car and it's not as fancy as what else." I'm like, I don't need that. I don't need to impress you. This is different. And it only took a few days to get used to it. And I enjoy that little car. So I love that we have the same vehicle because it's about, is it going to run? Is it reliable? And for me, does it have a tow hitch so I can pull a trailer when I have to carry things around?
Yeah, yeah. And I want to say this too. Little baby pretty when she clean too now.
I know, but I do wish I'd gotten white instead of red because that red shows dirt, and I didn't think it would be as much as the black shows, but the red shows as much. But that's fine. I got a bucket in the driveway. It's fine.
Yeah, I got a white, and mine white too.
Yeah, the white hides dirt, and that's the secret, friends. If you didn't know, that's why so many people drive white vehicles. It surprisingly hides dirt. Okay, so GMC should probably pay both of us because we didn't know we were going to have a terrain advertisement right here in the middle of a show talking about hero training. But I guess heroes are attracted to like minded souls, and that's how the Lord works. All right, so what do you actually do in your hero training program? And why should people reach out to you to find out what you can bring to their organization through what you've created?
Yeah, meeting you at that town hall discussion, that was a collaboration. I'm in collaboration and partnership with Men of Destiny, and we specialize in covational training, heating and air, electrical, maintenance facility, and those type of thing. And prior to last year, we didn't have the space. We had a space issue, but we've ran a summer camp 4 consecutive years where we have anywhere between 8 to 16 young men. And every day we just get them and we go with the flow. We call it real life lessons. Like I'll give you an example. One day we had a field trip for lunch. We went to Chick-fil-A and the owner welcomed us, sectioned it off. We had waitresses and everything, but the experience was about letting them meet ownership. We all go to Chick-fil-A, but how many people has ever met the actual owner of a Chick-fil-A for just that experience? So on the way back, I got a nail in my tire, and I had 4 or 5 riding with me. I got a nail in my tire. So I stopped over, put the spare on, went to AutoZone, saw what it was. So when we got back to the camp, we had a teachable moment.
Yes.
Who knows how to change a tire? Who knows how to plug a tire? Who knows so the point was putting something in every young man to know that just in the simple life situation of a flat tire, if it's just him and his mom, or later, him and his wife, or him and whoever, they are enough. They are enough in that moment to say, we all we got, we all we need. Boom, and always be prepared. So to have that and do that, that's on the program side. But on the real life side, every day, my children and my wife depend on me. Every decision I make. When I leave out that door to go to work, I only break a way to make a way. I'm only as real as my reason. If you see me anywhere outside of my home, it will be tied to my foundational reason. You see what I'm saying? So that's what it is. It ain't an idea. It ain't somewhat follow me. It's about me wholeheartedly giving understanding to know how it works so you can work it and truly be depended upon by those that depend on you. It's certain things that as a mother, can't nobody give your divine team but you. That's the position you play. And no matter how old or young, as long as you in the game, they still depend on you.
Yes.
Even if it changed. So understanding that every day and waking up and being it. I say practice what you preach and be what you teach. So, that's it in a nutshell. On the business side, like you say, consulting, the universal truth of understanding. Great minds think alike. Intentions is the soul. Any conversation that I could be a part of to help build something. Call my number, put me at the table. I'm confident. That's what I preach. That's what I teach. Every room I walk in, I know I add value. And as long as you can make that infectious amongst others in your life, around you, we all we got, we all we need. And to those that don't understand it, in the vaguest way, God is good all the time.
All the time, God is good. And I gotta introduce you to Matt Roten at Kingdom Overflow Ministries. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're up in Boone. And we did a summer camp this past summer to teach young people from 13 to 18 years old construction trades by having them build a tiny house for a survivor of Hurricane Helene. And Matt did this so the kids would have what you're doing, the hands-on experience to know the trades are an option for that kid who maybe didn't connect to traditional school and doesn't know what to do next. And this one kid was like, I love electrical work. And so he's like laser beam focused on electrician life because it really connected him to something powerful. And I'm just sitting here wondering how we can create more opportunities when we start connecting different programs together so we can expose more young people to more pathways where they have some agency. And I love the way that you put it, because I think we really forget how much power you have when you know how to do things. And changing a tire is something I will guarantee most kids don't know how to do anymore. My dad wouldn't let me drive without knowing how to change a tire, and I bet your dad was the same way. You got to know certain things about the vehicle before you get that license and get off on the road, and we've got to give that knowledge back to the next generation. So thank you for what you're doing to give kids a different perspective so that they can find a different way to get to 7. I love it.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think that one thing we got to understand, like when I use the word empathy, if you're driving a 2026 BMW and you're driving a 1986 Ford, both vehicles have tires. Both tires are made of rubber. Both tires are inflated with air. Both tires are subject to go flat. Now, what the difference may be is the richer guy may say, well, I'm not going to touch tires. I can call and get it done. And that's true. And he's not wrong. But there will be a situation where you got to do and you got to be. And just like I'm teaching children covational training, but there is a situation, and there was a situation. Well, I came home from work and my wife and my kids were up in an uproar. And they say, Daddy, the water won't get hot. Man, it's cold. Dad, what we gonna do? Dad, I can't take no cold shower. What we gonna do? Dad, And in that situation, 9 o'clock, how much would it cost to call Morris Jenkins? I ain't having
Lord.
time. Sometime your wealth come in your relationships. Who can you call? If you can't, then I thought about what I taught a child. I became a child. I got a multimeter and I checked it and I looked at it and I practiced what I had learned and what I've been teaching. And I realized that it was a thermostat, and I made the call to my big brother who teaches it more so. And he said, okay, here's what you do. You go to Lowe's and you get a universal thermostat kit. It costs us $30. And you do what I taught you. And I came home in a matter and put it there. And I say, wait a minute. And my baby turned on that water, and to hear the voice say, Daddy, it's hot.
Yeah, no better feeling than that.
No amount of money define, can't no position define that. Can't no race, can't no creed, can't nothing define that than the universal truth of a man feeling worthy and accomplished when they know they answered their baby's cry. When we can meet there, I don't care which way you come from or how you go back. And that's what solves any type of relation. If you don't like me and I don't like you, it's cool. But if the reason we meet here as men is to provide for the same reason, then there's a mutual respect amongst world relations. We can call it business. We can call it whatever. That's the power.
Well, where's a microphone so I can drop it? I need to drop a microphone right now.
No, you ain't gotta be that. I'm just talking, Miss Brown. It's all
I don't
good.
know. I'm just gonna tell you, my pastor's gonna watch this and he's gonna sit over there going, oh, that'll preach, because he's always looking for sermon ideas. And I feel like what you're doing and what you're saying is so affirming of what we can be. And I'm just so grateful to you for showing up at the same thing that I showed up at, and you speaking up so that I could come run over to you before you got away. And I know that's how God works. And I'm just so grateful for what you're doing in the community, what you're pouring into people's lives, and just for being an amazing example of a husband and a dad and somebody who's actively seeking ways to collaborate. So thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for what you're doing. And I cannot wait to find out how we're going to collaborate in the future, because I'm absolutely going to introduce you to Matt at Kingdom Overflow, and let's see what we can do to expand the hero training that you're doing.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, y'all, say something nice about Trav down in the comments. Make sure you hit us on a like and subscribe to come back for more. And we'll see you next time on Real Talk with Leigh Brown.
Love y'all.
Ooh. If that doesn't give you a new perspective on real estate, or at least make you laugh out loud, you need to check your pulse, friends. Now listen, if you loved what you heard, go ahead and click the subscribe button, hit the bell if you're on YouTube, follow on that favorite podcast app, and pretty please leave me a 5-star review, not just for me, although I do totally love the affirmation, but because it helps other people find the truth behind the real estate curtain too. And hey, if you've got a wild story of your own or something burning you want to learn about in real estate, you can slide into my DMs, as the young folks say, or shoot me a message. Maybe you can be the next guest on Real Talk with Leigh Brown. If you keep showing up, I'll keep bringing the chaos, the coaching, and the crazy stuff we all love in real estate. I'll see you next time, friends. And remember, real estate ain't always pretty, but it's never boring.